back when we first got involved in your packaging, obviously the core focus wasn't so much around sustainability and pack times and things like that. It was more, back then in 10 years ago, it was more, is this going to get things from A to B?
We started off as a first customer, which was glass, and so damage was always
Yes.
top of the agenda. And I think for us, it's having a range of boxes. It's Macfarlane do hundreds of thousands of different products, I think, but obviously as a fulfillment centre, we can't stock hundreds of thousands. And so for us, it was what's the best packaging to use, the minimum damage, and a choice that's easy enough for people to understand.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, the requirement was it gets to A to B in a condition that's acceptable to the customer. And obviously now, where we sit now, very much, I think even in the marketplace in the 10 years, James, and you'd know better than I, people's demand for how quickly they receive their product from the time that they order it, I think has changed so much in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I think speed to delivery is one thing, but as comes out through all the surveys that I know Macfarlane invest in every year, that the unboxing experience, how it opens, how easy it is to return, the rate of damage is still a really large part of it, and sustainability as well is becoming more and more key too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the development in on how quickly people expect the products, what they expect the packaging to be like. So going back to like the disposal, how the waste streams they dispose it, how recyclable it is, and also replicating that retail experience. People still want a level of experience when they buy through online now, and that wasn't there. When we first started doing it, 10 years, the expectation was so much different to where it is now.
And it's interestingly different levels, isn't it? I mean, you found in your survey, again, 45% of product is unbranded boxes, and we do quite a lot of unbranded boxes because just the breadth of product we have.
Yes.
And obviously, people were scaling their company. It's easier for them to have a good selection of right-sized boxes. But it's interesting. I still get a lot of boxes turn up, which are just sort of your standard box with sort of plastic tape on it. And we've gone completely away from that now with a lot of much faster, easier to construct boxes with more environmental solutions. And then the next level I get then is custom boxes. But I think there's definitely been a lot more innovation I've seen, especially from Macfarlane, around pushing, boxes which have a nice experience and aren't just, a square box turns up with tape on.
Yeah, no, I mean, it starts from, don't have to be mutually exclusive to one thing. I mean, it's when we switched you guys from standard boxes to crash lock boxes, which, as you very well know, the base erects itself through the process of pushing the box open. Just this sort of pack timings, security in transit, all these things that it offers. And then when we put peel strips and tear strips, the consumer then doesn't have to use knives and things like that. The box can be used again to return to you. So there was loads of add-ons, and this is the sort of minimum the market is now really expecting from someone like yourselves to fulfill on such a large scale.
When people design packaging, actually, a lot of people think how it's going to look, but they're not necessarily thinking about how you're going to open it or how quick it is to pack. So what are the kind of things to think about from your perspective as a packaging expert around when you design that packaging to get it right?
I mean, one of the core focuses when I first pick up with someone who comes to me for new packaging is, what size box ultimately. We need to make sure that we have enough protection of that product to get it to the consumer in perfect working order. But obviously we don't want to overinflate the size of that box because postal rates and everything like that makes a key difference too, especially businesses in their infancy. You can waste a lot of money.
So I guess the thickness of the board, the weight of the corrugate, there's quite a lot of technical things in there, isn't there, to get right?
Yeah, I mean, board grades play a big part. We're trying to be as slick as possible, and obviously with everybody trying to go letterboxable, you want that board grade to be as thin and protective as you possibly can, so you either subsidise that with what you can do with internally to protect that product. And
box designs change a lot. I think you've got a crash lock box there, just to look at. This is one you've done for especially.
Yeah, well, this is where we moved you to. Yeah. So obviously when your guys pack these, the base locks themselves out, so that's fully now secure in the base.
And so with that box there, we've gone from the traditional box where we're putting tape on with the tape going all different ways, to now someone just pushes the box and it's locked up straight away. And we've also gone for the tear off strips, and there's two on there, isn't there?
Yeah, so you've got the two tape strips, so when your guys downstairs are packing, they'll use one, and if the goods need returning by the consumer, or to use that box again to send, you know, if that's a present for somebody else, they want to wrap it and then send it on, they could essentially use this box again to move.
And the bit I always remember about doing this when I used to pack some of these is, and I love this now, is that the strip is slightly bigger than the than the glue, isn't it? Yeah,
well, essentially the focus to go from O2O1 boxes, which is like a standard box that requires taking box.
Yeah.
You know, it's a time element. You know, the benefit comes from, you know, you and your team can pack a lot more of these boxes than you could do in the old. There's no point adding an element in there that doesn't
slows you down again.
Exactly right. That brings it back down to where we were. So it's a really conscious decision to make sure, you know, these boxes are as ergonomically.
And I know when we looked at these that these worked out slightly more expensive, didn't they,
Yes,
than
they
the
did.
standard box to make. But when we did the whole time and motion in the building, we found out that, you know, the actual cost to the retailer was less because we could pack it so much faster.
Your pack per hour went up. You know, 3-4 fold at least. You know, it's the payback is certainly there. I think it's just understanding that, you know, the true cost of packaging versus the unit cost of packaging.
When you just buy the box.
Exactly. There's a massive gulf of difference.
Because storage, I guess, is quite bulky stuff to be storing pallet and pallet loads of it as well.
Yeah,
You've got to think about.
I mean, even for you and these boxes, James. You know, I think originally when we first did module 1 of these boxes, we could fit 1,200 on a pallet.
Yeah.
Of these boxes, we can now fit 2,000 on a pallet.
Yeah.
I think when I looked at that before, that's a reduction in pallet movement for you guys of about 200 pallets a year.
Yeah.
You know, the CO2 element to that, the storage element
And that's
to
only
that.
just one box.
And that's
size
just
as well.
one box. You know, when we expand that, I mean, this is one of a range of 3 in this style. And then obviously you've got all of your other products as well. You know, that's where the true cost of packaging comes into it. And, you know, we use a tool called a packaging optimizer we've recently brought out, and that really does capture, you know, true pack times and demonstrates to people that the cost of packaging lies in the whole process.